next Wednesday, June 17th. Taking a quick look at the weather pattern overview here. Aside from a few afternoon and evening showers and storms today, tomorrow, and even into the weekend, the weather will largely be dry. It'll be hot though, and so we're expecting temperatures anywhere from low 90s to maybe even low 100s in a few spots the next day or two. Aside from that, we'll have a cold front move into the area, and it may stall somewhere across central North Carolina or perhaps even east. There's a bit of uncertainty in that regard, but where that front stalls over the weekend and into early next week, we'll see increased chances for showers and storms along and east of that boundary. Otherwise, with that in place, we do expect a decrease in the temperatures, especially the highs, where we'll have highs in the 80s versus highs in the 90s into the middle of next week. And taking a quick look here at the heat risk graphics for today, tomorrow, and Saturday, you can see that we're largely in the moderate to major heat risk categories across the area today and tomorrow. We do start to see a bit of the extreme popping up, even if you look closely, the urban areas across the triangle today, but that expands as you get into Friday and Saturday, and that's largely due to the fact that overnight temperatures are going to stay pretty high, not get really below 70 degrees in those areas. And so that's why, excuse me, why we're getting into the extreme categories in those places. So folks are going to want to make sure that they're taking the proper precautions, getting in the air conditioning when you can, proper hydration, all of that the next few days. And a quick reminder here, check the back seat, make sure you're not leaving your pets or your kids in the car, even with the windows down. It's going to be unsafe temperature wise to be doing any of that. So make sure you're looking in the back seat and double, triple, quadruple checking those particular areas. And taking a look at the expected rainfall, the rain you're seeing on the map there, or the expected rainfall totals you're seeing on the map there for the next couple of days are largely due to showers and thunderstorms. So where we get them, we'll have rain. Where we don't, we won't. And then as we get into early to middle of next week, that's where we're expecting that boundary to perhaps set up shop across the area. And so again, places along and east of that boundary, we'll generally see a bit more precipitation. You know, west of that boundary, perhaps a little bit less, but everybody should hopefully, fingers crossed, get some precipitation in the next 5 days or so. And here's the drought update, fresh off the press this morning. You can see the triangle area, and basically along I-85 between the Triad and the Triangle has been introduced into the exceptional drought, the D4 category, where we've really struggled to get much, if any, rainfall recently. So that is the biggest change for the drought update this week. So we're going to really keep our fingers crossed and hope that we get some rainfall in the next 7 days to alleviate some of that. And here's the excessive rainfall outlook. You can see we are clipped with the marginal excessive rainfall across the far northern portions of the area today. And that expands a little bit farther south for tomorrow, including those areas that are in D4. But keep in mind, if that excessive rainfall occurs due to thunderstorms and occurs over a very short period of time, the ground won't be able to absorb that right away. And so there is a risk then of some localized flooding should we get some heavier downpours over those areas. We want ideally a longer duration, kind of light to moderate rainfall, really to help with those drought areas. And obviously we'll welcome any rainfall, but just keep in mind that an excessive amount of rainfall over a very short period of time could be problematic in those areas too. And looking at the severe thunderstorm potential, we are in a marginal risk across the north today for some isolated severe potential, and then that entire area shifts south and eastward for tomorrow. So the marginal shifts south and east over to the triangle, and then we are introduced into a slight risk across the far northern portions for tomorrow. And looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook here, you can see we're favoring above normal temperatures and near normal rainfall. And we do actually have something in the tropics today. We have an area of a 10% chance of development over the next week. So a low probability of formation, but it is an area of low pressure they are expecting to perhaps form over the Bay of Campeche in the next 7 days. And here's our graphical hazardous weather outlook. You see highlighting here the thunder potential, the excessive heat is highlighted. If you were to go onto our website and look at this, you could click on those individual chiclets and kind of see where the areas are that are highlighted in the various categories. But this is just a general overview of that. So this gives you an idea of the extreme heat through the weekend, and then as we get into middle of next week, where I said highs are in the 80s or so, that kind of falls off there. And just to recap, largely afternoon and evening showers and storms possible through the weekend. That coverage perhaps increases early to middle of next week, depending on where that front settles. With the cold front moving in, we are expecting a decrease in high temperatures for early to middle next week, with highs generally in the 80s versus highs in the 90s this week. Looking at the hazards, the main hazard for the next day or two is primarily going to be the heat risk, with that temperatures in the mid to upper 90s, maybe even touching the low 100s. But along with that, we do have a risk for some excessive rainfall across the north, and then a chance for some isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms today into tomorrow.